يا راغبا في كل علم نافع.
ينمو العلم ويتقدم بتقنياته ومجالاته، ومعه نطور أدواتنا في تقديم العلم الشرعي. أكاديمية
زاد أكاديمية ينبوعها صاف ليروي غلة الظمآن، ومكارم الأخلاق ندرسها معا، أدب وتربية على الإحسان. بشرى لنا زاد أكاديمية للعلم كالأزهار في البستان.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Islamic Education Level 4 and the diseases of the heart and the means to cure it. And we're talking about the disease of the heart, which is al-ghafla. And before we talk about the means of cure, علاج, the cure of the ghafla, because every disease, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought with it the cure to it. And this is by the mercy of Allah. And with matters of deen, we know all of the cure to all of the diseases is not something to be discovered later by researchers and things like this. No, it's already been figured out, and it's clear, and it's stated in the Quran and in the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. What's left is that we take the means to implement it, inshallah ta'ala. But before we talk about that, there are punishments for the ghafla as a result of forgetfulness. Some of it is in the hereafter, some of it is in this life. So a person would receive punishment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this life by diverting away from the good deeds, being turned away from understanding the ayat of Allah, understanding what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us, being deprived from the mercy of Allah. The dua is not accepted, shayateen are in control, and a person becomes weak when it comes to the whispers of the shayateen. Ghafla after ghafla, one forgetfulness after one forgetfulness, the bad ending of one's life, regret in the hereafter. And the worst of all is for a person to enter the hellfire. All of these things mentioned in the Quran as a result of al-ghafla, or the forgetfulness. And that's why there are, it doesn't happen all, overnight. But when a person is so much eager, for example, to attain the desires of this world, these are the means that leads the person to be forgetful. The worldly life becomes the concern, and attaining the desires of it. The sin after sin makes the person loses the effect or the feeling of it and the feel of pain. So the heart becomes, instead of being as if it's dead, does not have any remorse anymore. To work and to diligently going after the concern or the rest of the body, to rest oneself, to go after the desires, following the desires, being busy with worldly matters, provisions, going after wealth, living a luxurious life, relying on just the dunya, that's it, no concern about what's going to happen in the hereafter, being mixed with the people of forgetfulness, and indulging oneself in many of the the permissible acts, and ignoring the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So with all of these things, how then to take the means to cure ourselves from al-ghafla? And a person has to first acknowledge that this is a major thing. And once a person realizes that, and he has to take the means to protect himself and to cure himself, and to assume that we're all in that state. Don't praise yourself. Don't say, I don't have this issue. No, we all have it. Then what should we do? The dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The remembrance of Allah. Ghafla is forgetfulness. The opposite of that is dhikr. So to make dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we heard this verse before, remember your Lord and do not be from the ghafilin. وَاذْكُرْ رَبَّكَ فِي نَفْسِكَ. Make remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your own self, تَضَرُّعًا وَخِيفًا, by having the fear of Allah, devoting oneself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in one's ibadah and one's dhikr. And don't raise your voice to show off and things like this, whether it's in the morning and in the evening. وَلَا تَكُن مِّنَ الْغَافِلِينَ. So establishing the 5 daily salah, which is the dhikr, making the adhkar in the morning and in the evenings, and never to leave these things whatsoever, so that the person is not from the ghafilin, from those who are forgetful. Making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to remove the ghafla from the heart. As the Prophet ﷺ used to say, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-ajizi wal-kasal wal-bukhli wal-haram wal-qaswati wal-ghafla Oh Allah, I seek refuge in you from the inability to do things, the laziness, the stinginess and greed, the old age that will prevent the person from doing things, the harshness of the heart, the forgetfulness, and more of the things that the Prophet ﷺ used to seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from: adhilla, humility, poverty, seeking refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from poverty, from disbelief, from associating partners with Allah, from an-nifaq, hypocrisy, from showing off. Because if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will for it to be not there, it won't be there. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that cures what's in the hearts. One of the means to attain or to purify and to have this remedy and the medicine for the heart from ghafla is qiyamul layl. One of the very important ones is to pray during the night prayer. And the Prophet ﷺ said a beautiful hadith that it's very easy and attainable for each and every one of us to protect ourselves from the disease of al-ghafla. He said ﷺ, man qama bi'ashri ayatin lam yuktab min al-ghafilin. Whoever prays the night prayer, qiyamul layl, every day, if it's with 10 verses only, he won't be written that night from the ghafilin or from the forgetful ones. 10 verses, you can, the last 3 surahs is more than that. وَمَنْ قَامَ بِمِئَةِ آيَةٍ, and whoever prays the night prayer with 100 verses, كُتِبَ مِنَ الْقَانِتِينَ, he will be recorded from those who are devoted in worship. وَمَنْ قَامَ بِأَلْفِ آيَةٍ, and whoever prays with 1,000 verse in the night, كُتِبَ مِنَ الْمُقَنْطِرِينَ, he will be written from the muqantirin, those who surpassed everyone. So this is one of the means to cure the heart and to protect the heart from ghafla. To visit the graves, because the ghafla is when a person is heedless when it comes to the hereafter and the fear of Allah and death. So a way to remove that is by visiting the grave, and this is something that the Prophet ﷺ himself, he said, ألا إني كنت قد نهيتكم عن ثلاث, or I used to forbid you from 3 things, one of which is ziyaratul qubur, to visit the graves. So then he alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, فَزُورُوهَا فَإِنَّهَا تُذَكِّرُكُمُ الْآخِرَةِ, then visit the graves because indeed it reminds you of the hereafter. In one of the narrations, ثُمَّ بَدَ لِي أَنَّهَا تُرِقُّ الْقَلْبِ, then it became clear to me that visiting the graves soften the hearts, وَتُدْمِعُ الْعَيْنِ, and make the eyes shed tears, وَتُذَكِّرُ الْآخِرَةِ, and reminds the person of the hereafter, فَزُورُوهَا وَلَا تَقُولُوا هُجْرًا, زُرُوهَا, visit the graves and do not say anything that is haram or opposing the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and doing matters of jahiliyyah. So as you see here, physical things to be done. This is medicine. And if a person knows this and then he turns away from it, then he should not blame anyone but his own self. And the deen of Islam within itself, it has the means of cure. For example, if we establish the 5 daily salah perfectly, to the best of our ability, that removes these types of diseases in the heart. So if a person prays Salatul Fajr in Jama'ah and do the adhkar of the morning, have a daily wird and recitation of the Quran, even if it's something small on a daily basis. And then by the time when he goes and seek provisions and so on, even when you are working and busy, then Salatul Dhuhr comes, takes you away from the ghafla and makes the person make the salah, one salah after the other, adhkar, recitation of the Quran, night prayer, and all of that, even if it's a small amount every day, attainable, but the consistency of it is means of cure. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us among those who are not in ghafla and those who are in state of dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We'll continue inshallah ta'ala with more of the diseases in the heart next time. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
يا راغبا في كل علم نافع،
ينمو العلم ويتقدم بتقنياته ومجالاته، ومعه نطور أدواتنا في تقديم العلم الشرعي. أكاديمية
زاد أكاديمية ينبوعها صاف ليروي غلة الظمآن، ومكارم الأخلاق ندرسها معا، أدب وتربية على الإحسان. بشرى لنا زاد أكاديمية للعلم كالأزهار في البستان.